Hello, English 142. Second week, which in real semester time, it's like a month and a half into the course, so maybe a month. So we are really cooking now. We're into it. Okay, I have a couple housekeeping things that are actually really important. So if you are feeling inspired to fast forward at this point, stop. Pay attention. Okay, first of all, I had to give a lot of zeros when I graded yesterday, and that stinks. I hate doing that. I really want everybody to get an A. It's just how I am. Why don't you get an A? I think I don't make it that hard for you to just complete the work. So here's what we're gonna do. It's really important that you are posting in the discussion board your initial post by Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. It's a really good amount of time to cruise through the reading, put together one post. Then you need to reply to 3 of your peers by Sunday night. Again, lots of time. Shout out to Roz, rocked the discussion boards last week. She went above and beyond, and that was exactly what I'm looking for. Yes, I've given you minimums, but these discussions are here for you to really engage with the material. This is the equivalent of a classroom discussion. So I want you to really be digging into the community that we have built here. Confession, I do not love the format of the Canvas discussion boards. I am actively looking to see if there is a third-party discussion board that I can import into Canvas as an app. And if I find one that looks great, we might switch over next week, because I know that's a lot of scrolling. And if you're participating on your phone or a tablet, it is not easy to navigate. And I am right there with you. I get it. But even though you have to kind of cruise through a lot, you do need to be participating. If there are 2 discussion boards and I note that both discussion boards are graded, you got to participate in both. This week we only have 1 discussion board. Hooray! 1 is required and graded. The other is optional. So the first discussion board is the critique discussion board. You are going to follow the outline that I've given you in your peer critique assignment, but you are going to provide a critique of one of the short stories that we're reading this week. So you can pick one of those stories, read it, and then write a letter to that author as though they are in your workshop group. Okay? Which brings me to peer critique and workshop groups. Again, I love to do shout outs in these videos. This is fun. Okay, so Ashlyn, Cassie, Nick, and Olivia, you posted in your group. Your group now has access to your stories that you wrote. Hooray! Your group is now able to complete the assignment for Sunday. Everyone else, you need to participate in your group. If you're having trouble accessing your group, you don't know how to get to it, you don't know how to find that discussion board, I get it. It's confusing. We're all navigating Canvas as a full course for the first time. I've posted a link on how to access group discussion boards below in the full text of this announcement, but also in my initial video. I posted all the way back last Sunday. I showed you how you can access your peer discussion groups. You are in groups of 4 or 5. And your job is to post your story in that discussion board that I set up for you already. It's ready to go. It has instructions and everything. I even sent an email about it on Sunday. It's totally available to you. And most of you have already turned in your stories. So all you have to do is take the story you wrote and turn it into me on Sunday and plop it into that discussion board, preferably as a link or as an attachment so that your peers can interact with the text. This has to happen in order for workshops to work. It's really, really important. This is the teamwork part of our class, and I know that you are all going to be great teammates. We just have to work out the kinks. So let's work that one out. I'd love to see stories posted today. They should have been posted Sunday, but today, guys, today. You have to be able to do your critiques for next Sunday. Okay, If you have questions, you still can't access it, you've done 5 tutorials, you are losing your mind, please post in the general questions forum so that maybe your classmates could help you, or when I provide you more detailed instruction, other people can see it, so maybe you can help other people with your questions. That would be great. Another thing, just another little housekeeping detail. This is an online course, but this is still a Westmont course, okay? We're not phoning it in. It's fiction writing. It's summer. Look, I'm outside. You can see my trampoline. There are lots of things that are super low key and great about this class, and that is absolutely my vibe, and I love to keep it that way, but we have a lot to get through. I want you to be successful here. I want you to have fun. I want you to learn and grow and engage with your peers. I really need you to participate, and if you are struggling to participate or feeling confused, please, 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 please email me. I'm here for you. Okay, now, on to the real stuff. Housekeeping, over. I'm gonna tell you a story. This is the fun part about online, is that I can kind of interact with you a little bit the way I would in real life in a class, but I just get to do it on a video so you can watch me over and over again. Aren't you excited? I know you are. Okay. This morning, my son, Mason, he's almost 7, he's in 1st grade, he came out of his room and he was holding a big Lego structure that was a dragon. And he does a lot of like those little tiny Lego kits with 1,000 pieces and a 45-page instruction manual. It makes me want to lose my mind. But thankfully he's old enough that he doesn't actually need that much help with them anymore, which is great because I don't love them. But one of the things he does now in his free time is he will build a Lego structure that he has made up in his mind and spend a lot of time working on it, and then he'll get a stack of notebook paper and staple it together in the top, and then he will flip it to the back page of his little notebook that he's made, and then he'll deconstruct what he's made and draw pictures and work backwards and make his own little booklet on how to create the structure that he invented. It's really cool. Super time consuming and really engaging, and it's so cute to watch him do it. So anyway, the structure he came up with this morning that he finished, and he's gonna start making a booklet for it this afternoon when he gets home from school, is a dragon. He makes dragons actually kind of a lot, but this one is a little different than his usual dragon. It's long. I actually wanted to show it in the video, but it has some like a wheel situation on the bottom that's a little precarious, and if it fell apart he would be so sad. So you'll just have to work with me and imagine a big Lego dragon that's bigger than I could show you here. It's wide. My arms are super wide. Okay. And my daughter Vivian, who's 4.5, asked him this morning, she said, Mason, how did you come up with the idea for this dragon? And Mason said, well, first I made it and it was actually a lot bigger and it was bulkier, and the face wasn't totally right, but I needed to see how I could fit the tail together. So it was actually bigger and didn't really look very much like a dragon when I started it 2 days ago. And so I made this really big structure and then to make it stable, and then I started taking things off of it. And then as I took things off of it, it started looking more dragonish, and then I could add in more dragon elements like spikes along the back, and I changed the face a lot, and then I changed the shape of these wings because I knew the body was stable, and then I came up with what I've got right now. And I still might change it this afternoon, but I think I really like how it is right now. So he's explaining this to Vivian, and I'm sitting there listening, and I thought, that creative process that he just described is exactly the writing process. And on Sunday, you all turn in stories that are maybe bulkier, flabbier, less defined than you wanted them to be. The characters aren't totally right. The conclusion is not on point. Kelly emailed me his story and he said, this isn't exactly where I want it to be, but I think the bones are good. And that might be the place that many of you find yourselves in. And so Mason, when he made his dragon, he did a self-editing process. He didn't ask me for help or ask Vivian for help or insight. But what we're going to do this week is we're going to participate in that editing process together. You're going to read each other's stories and say, you're right, these bones are good here, but this part is a little flabby, and this could have more embellishment, and this character could have more detail, or actually this character, I don't know if this character lives in this story. I think this character might need to be pulled out and set aside and put someplace else. We're going to provide that critique for our peers so that their story can be refined and take the shape that it needs to take in order to be the best story possible. And it's really important that we do that lovingly. Now, a loving critique is not one that just simply says, you're such a good writer. A lot of you are really good writers. That's great. Lots of people are good writers. And that's a really helpful place to start, to be a good writer. But that's not a critique, okay? So if you want to add that, say, you're such a good writer. Great. That's a great place to start. But then we need to move into a really thoughtful critique. Give the type of critique that you would want to receive. Hey, I turned in the story. I know that it isn't perfect. I know that I don't like the conclusion. And if everybody in my group just says, it's so good, what am I supposed to do? I feel stuck on my conclusion, okay? So if that's the type of, you want them to say, hey, you know what? Your conclusion needs some work. Here's what you could do. On page 3, you have this beautiful description of the forest. What if the characters came back to that forest? Or there was a dream sequence? Or maybe you could, and brainstorm for them a little bit. Give them that concrete suggestion, something to sink their teeth into. They may not take your idea. If somebody says, hey, I'd love to see a dream sequence here. You're like, I hate dream sequences. I don't want to write that. But that made me think that I could do this instead. Let the critique that you get from your peers be a launching point for writing, and we'll talk about that more next week. But this week, give the critique that you would want to receive. Be helpful. Be thoughtful. Your allegiance is to the work, okay? But that doesn't mean that you can't treat the writer with care. You need to treat the writer with care. Remember, they're whole people. You may not be looking at their faces. Some people haven't even uploaded their photos yet. You don't know what they look like. It's really easy to get on the internet, even in an online class, and just spout out a really rough critique. This story was terrible, I hated it, blah, blah, blah. And that's not super loving, and that's not super helpful. Nobody's going to walk away from that going, yeah, I totally want to revise my conclusion because everybody hated it and told me so, and I'm terrible at this and I quit. Okay, we don't want to inspire that. We want to inspire thoughtfulness and care and excitement for the story. Both the writer and the reader should care about the story being the best story possible. So, writers, it's good to accept critique. It is helpful. It is refining. Revision is what we're here for. Readers, provide the type of revision that is uplifting and encouraging and inspires creation. That's what we're after this week. Okay, this video is getting crazy long. I hope you didn't fast forward. You could, I hope maybe you paused and got a cup of coffee or something in between. That's fine. You don't have to watch me in one sitting. But that's where we're at. 13 minutes later. I'll see you in the discussion boards tomorrow. If you have questions, shoot me an email or post in our questions forum. Okay, adios.